So we're going to go through some setting things first, just because that's pretty important. And we're just going to burn through this relatively quick. So the gameplay tab has all of your like personal preference settings, right? So this is field of view. And then we also have a whole bunch of settings for UI. Now, ideally, this experience is built for you to enjoy with as little UI as possible. That's how the game's kind of designed. It's how we want you to experience it. We also understand that people who are new to the game or genre in general might have difficulty, right? Because it might be a little bit too hardcore for some people. So for, you know, some of the basic stuff like stamina and stance, we have some settings here that you can see when those icons come up, if at all, how you want them to come up. Maybe you only want the stamina to come up at a certain percent. Stance availability, you know, maybe you need help extra when you can't tell the difference between if you're standing or crouched. All that stuff's here. We recommend you take the time to tweak this stuff to your liking, and once again, we highly recommend you err on the side of less UI. We think that's a better experience for the players. In the video section, this is kind of different from the guide just a little bit. Once again, we only recommend using Epic if your computer is quite strong. You can of course try to run it otherwise, but like results may vary. Just keep in mind that that is going to be more costly, obviously. Otherwise, you can use the auto set. That should be pretty darn good, but there's a lot here that's going to change as far as settings and performance and optimization over the next couple months. So just keep in mind that this is in flux. You'll have to play with these a little bit. These are, you know, there's no real, we haven't discovered even internally the best settings to use for every setup. So do some tweaking with it. Let us know what you find. That's part of the information gathering process over the alpha. We have super resolution enabled for the project. We think it looks pretty good. I personally use DLSS quality. I know people that use DLAA with monster computers. I also know people that use the other performance options. The only issue that we're tracking with lower or like faster oriented DLSS settings is that the reticles can get a little bit fuzzier. But otherwise, highly recommend you use an upscaler. You don't have to, of course. We do have TSR. I think AMD just got added in. AMD's FSR just got added in as well this week to the project. So I think there's a couple issues with the FSR option and the Intel option. But once again, report and let us know what you find. Otherwise, these are my settings. I use frame generation. We also just got frame generation in the project too. So it was super crazy. We added this in. And, you know, obviously they're fake frames, but going up from 90 to 200 frames was pretty nuts. But once again, your mileage may vary depending on your hardware. But yeah, definitely recommend playing with these settings and seeing what works for you tomorrow. In the audio settings, everything's pretty standard here. Just know that this is like left, -1 is like the left ear, and full on 1 is the right ear. So we auto split the command and squad radio channels for you guys. You guys might have a personal, you know, favorite kind of ear setup for your different command comms. So highly recommend you change that if you need to. And then one of the most important things, of course, is making sure that your microphone input is set properly. Make sure you are using the correct input. This is very, very important for obvious reasons. A lot of the game is based off of communication. Please make sure that you have that set up. Finally, this is an experimental page. And I should also preface that this entire settings menu is going to be overhauled in the next few months. This is essentially placeholder. The options are here and they will remain as far as like transferring from this menu to the next, but like this setup and the aesthetics here, like this is all dev UI, dev placeholder stuff. The whole project in and of itself needs a UI pass, so don't freak out too much about how things look. This is all going to get redone before the closed beta. But yeah, you can rebind things, try to rebind things. Let us know how that goes if you run into any issues. This is just, you know, you guys have many different other key combinations that we could even think of as a dev studio. So yeah, if you guys run into funky weird things, please report it. Okay, so that's going to be it for the setting stuff. Now we're going to talk about the server browser. The server browser also dev UI, super placeholder, super alpha, right? You're just gonna see a whole bunch of servers as they come up over the weekend, and you're gonna see them labeled A, which to us determines what box they are, and then 1 and 2 and 3 is just what servers on that box specifically. You'll also see the team makeup here. all of the AOs are the same AO over this weekend, so there's no like different really map. There's different spawns for the different AOs, but it's not denoted here. Just keep that in mind. And then of course we are running 54 player servers this weekend just to play it safe. We do plan on increasing this number as we continue testing, but we have run 54 pretty consistently and pretty solidly over the past couple weeks or months of testing internally. So we're just gonna keep it like that for now until we get these out of the way and then start moving that number on up. Okay, so you're just gonna pick a server, and that is as simple right now as left clicking. There is no click and then confirm. It's just a simple left click, so keep that in mind. Okay, so now we're on our own server, and I don't have to worry about messing with them while testing stuff. As you can see here, we have the different factions. So sorry about, we gotta roll that back a little bit. We have the win conditions. Your goal is to attrite the enemy's manpower reserves to 30% before yours hits 30%, or to knock them out of the zone and retain control over the zone enough that your influence reaches 100%. That's it. Very simple stuff. As you can see, there's no like go here and do this kind of mentality aside from just be in the AO. And the AO is quite sizable, as you can see here. Like this is the school building, right? This is the school building. You can kind of see how large that is. You can also see kind of the rest of the map here. There are 3 other AOs that we've been testing. You're only going to be playing this first AO for this test, but you will be testing it from multiple different spawn locations and from the 3 different factions, which is the Rangers, the Russian PMCs, and the al-Zalaam guerrillas. So there's still a lot of replayability just with this one circle and with the multiple different spawns. Different times of day will also occur. Every time we roll the map, there's a randomized time of day that is occurred to the map, and then you have the 3 factions kind of thing going on. Okay, so like we mentioned, 54 player servers means 27v27. That is 3 full 9-man squads. We highly recommend when playing this experience that you play in a full squad. We'll kind of break down the reasons behind that, but we really, it's just, we really wanted to incentivize large fully manned squads over a whole bunch of smaller elements that are kind of fragmented and all over the place. So how do we do that, and why do we do that? So as you can see here, I can only join the fire team alpha or the squad leader slots for all of these squads aside from the gun team. We'll get to the gun team in a second. The gun team, the weapon squad is very special. But the squad leader and fire team leaders act as spawn points for your squad. So this is kind of a old but kind of new take on how spawns work in the platoon scale shooters. So basically, instead of having a rally point or a radio or something you plop down and then have people kind of come in off of, we found that in our experience playing these games that system actually was very bad for squad cohesion. It reinforced really bad behaviors, and it was just a bit of a nuisance to manage as a leader, right? It was just another gamified kind of annoying thing. I have to go back, pick up the rally, move it forward, or like you have people spawning off the rally at random times and trickling in, and the squad cohesion was really rough. Or your rally got burned, and then now you have no spawn, and people are spawning back at the FOB or main base, and they're just all over the place, and it's super hard to get squads to stick together. Well, your spawns in this game are limited and locked to your leadership. What this means is you will live or die by the squad. It also means that when people are spawning in, they are spawned in with the squad. So that's why you see elements in Bellum in the footage that you've seen previously really stick together. It's because they are with each other by default, and they understand the lifelines within the element, and it just feels natural. So in order to use a leadership spawn, you just have to not be in contact. And in contact is just what it sounds like. That leader should not be shooting or being shot at. And we have systems in place that detect whether they're shooting or being shot at, that determine if they are in contact. If they are in contact, you cannot spawn in them. Otherwise, all you need is one other player from the element to be with that leader. So if I'm an alpha fire team leader, and here's a small other distinction, is that fire team leaders can spawn their fire team and the squad leader. So alpha fire team leader can spawn all of his red guys and the squad leader. Bravo fire team leader can spawn all of the blue guys and the squad leader. The squad leader can spawn everybody. So there's a natural experience that occurs where you want to protect your leadership. You want to listen to your leadership because your leadership is the lifeline in the AO. And that ends up being very, very natural. You don't have to do any extra kind of gamified thinking. If you're losing the fight, you break contact and fall back because you do not have an anchor in the zone, such as a rally or radio, right? You live or die by your leadership and by the element itself as players, not but with like random things you're placing around the map. So that is probably, we'll get to that later, but that's probably the hardest thing to wrap your head around as a new player in this game, is that you will have to recognize very authentically, very thematically, you will have to recognize when a fight is lost and when you need to break contact. And that is a very cool, very unique thing in this particular experience that I don't think any other platoon shooter really captures well, is that you will have to break contact, and you'll see people bound out of contact. They'll bound out, or they'll peel out, and it's just super cool. It's a super immersive kind of experience, but there's a reason to do it, and the reason is to what we call it reconstitute the element, which is the leadership spawns. That's reconstituting the element by breaking a decisive engagement. This also really does change the way that firefight engagements function in Bellum, and the reason for that is you have definitive firefights. What I mean by that is there's not like, oh, one guy shooting one guy over here, and then over here one guy kills a guy over here. You have elements that are locked in a brawl, in an actual gunfight, in a firefight, and then you have a decisive moment in them where one either falls back or the other is able to press the advantage and destroy. So you have actual like periods where it's gunfight, break contact, and then there's a lull, and then actual gunfight, break contact, and then there's a lull. It's not like one gunfight here, one gunfight here, one gunfight here, someone's getting shot here, someone gets shot here. It's not really like that. It's like the element moves in together, they meet another squad, they fight. During that fight, hopefully a squad recognizes that they're losing and they pull back before they're completely destroyed. And so you have these natural breaks, and it's a cool experience because I can tell you on the ground when you're fighting, if you're a good leader and if you have good experience, once again, we talk about making authentic decisions in this game, and or having an authentic kind of mind. You will be able to tell with experience and just understanding the flow of a firefight whether or not you have the advantage, and recognizing that is what separates inexperienced players from very experienced players, is being able to tell the very small nuances of, do we break contact here? Do we press the advantage? Because if you do press the advantage and you are actually able to envelop and destroy a full squad, it sends them right back to the fob, because that's the only other spawn that they'll have if you wipe out an entire squad. So very important. You live and die by your squad. If you don't live and die by the squad, you're walking back from main base, and that sucks. So work by your squad. It's built organically, that the teamwork is very natural. Right? We already pre-organize you into squads. We pre-organize you into fire teams. We have a set role that you're playing, so that, everyone has an expectation when they hop in of like what everyone's doing and where everyone should be. It's not like, oh, we have to organize ourselves now, and I have to like, or who's leading this thing or whatever. It's very clear off the rip who's doing what. So that's kind of the deal with the squad system. That's why the squad system is the way it is. The only other thing I really want to talk about here is that the fire team leaders play a large role in this game. They are not just a role where they just get tagged up and you mark things and whatever. They are an actual role that have a very large impact in the experience, not just because they act as spawns for the element, but also because in this game they have access to the platoon net. So this fire team leader, as soon as you slot in as a fire team leader, you have access to talk to all of the other squad leaders and fire team leaders on the net. And that's important for a couple of reasons that we'll cover now. The first is, if you're dead in this game, you cannot talk in the comms. That's one. So when your fire team leader is dead, when your squad leader is dead, your fire team leaders have to step up to the plate and communicate. The second is, like, maybe he's unconscious. Same thing. Our team leader can step up and communicate. The third thing is, this actually removes burden from the squad leader. I've played a bunch of games where I have to lead a group of 8 people, and leading a group of 8 random people over and over and over again with no help can be exhausting. I understand that completely. The fire team leaders here and the dynamic that it plays within the experiences, the squad leader really only has to just talk to the fire team leaders, and the fire team leaders can kind of organize within themselves and lead these micro elements. It also means that every leadership in a squad can help each other, right? If you can notice, if the alpha fire team leader notices that the squad leader is a little inexperienced, there's a little more agency here for the fire team leader to help out the squad leader, and vice versa within the hierarchy of the squad. So it's a little in depth in that regard, but it is kind of sensical, if that makes sense. It just it might take some getting used to, but it works as it should and mirrors that of, you know, real world U.S. Army fire teams. So if you have real world experience, it'll feel completely natural to you. But if you aren't experienced with any of this, guess what? It is pre-organized and preset for you. You know what I mean? So you just have to play it, and you'll see it. You'll see the organization already happen. And because things are so rigid, it makes teamwork and coordination and cohesion much easier, significantly easier. Okay, Bravo teams only unlock once 3 players have entered the Alpha Fire Team, and that's when you can enter the Bravo Fire Team. So just there's, once again, incentivizing full squads. This really matters more for like the other elements that don't have mirrored fire teams, like al-Zalaam or SATRY. So we'll get to that in a minute when we go over the different factions, but that is how the squad and role section works. We'll touch on the weapon squad a little bit more now. So part of the unique flavor of the Ranger Regiment is that they also have a weapon squad, and the weapon squad is very unique because it carries 3 M240 machine guns that can be belt linked if using coordination with one another. But in any case, the structure for the weapon squad is there are 3 gun teams. They are essentially mini fire teams. And then the hat team, unfortunately, the Carl Gustav did not make it in for this build. We are working on it. It will be in soon. But the hat team will come with time. Right now, they're just rifles. The only other thing to note is that each fire team leader, we have to figure out the balance here a little bit. But each gun team leader does act as a spawn, and they have the same restrictions. They can't be in contact, and they must have one other person from the squad near them to reconstitute, we call it. Okay, that's going to be that. Let's go ahead and spawn in. So as you can see here, I've selected, I'll take the squad leader. Yeah, we'll just go through the squad leader first and go through some mechanics, and we'll hit deploy. As you can see here at the bottom right, you can also see deploy 3 lives. That's how many lives that we have per experience. Okay. Like I mentioned, there's a little bit of a frame drop when you load in. This is just because we don't have any loading screens in that kind of like buffer everything as you're spawning in, and also just general optimization and things that need to occur. Right now, I'm running at, I think, 90 organic frames. So we're sitting at 120 organic frames on a 4090 13900K. And then frame gen is also on, which is doubling this. So I'm seeing probably at 200 plus frames right now. We are at the edge of the map, and we are in an empty server, so that stuff is to be considered. But that's just kind of the performance experience you can kind of gauge versus the stuff that I'm on currently. Okay. Infantry Mechanics. It is very similar to your standard first-person shooter games. You have WAC controls, your reloads on R, you have lean keys that you can set. It is very similar to other experiences that give you modular control over your height, right? You can very carefully choose the height that you want to be. Mouse wheel chooses how fast you move, right? We have obviously a sprint, we have crouch, we have prone and whatnot. Prone is very glitchy from what I'll say. Prone is very work in progress. We need to do a whole pass on all the prone animations and mechanics. So do bear with us there. Any other unique keybinds? Control R will check your magazine. You can even reload from this, right? So as you can see here, you don't have to wait for the check magazine to finish. You can check it and go like, oh, I want to reload this right now. Reload it. Control T is how we check the inventory. So you guys can see that one mag. I have my stuff once again limited on visibility because I like it like that. And you can keep track of how many mags, frags, or other equipment that you have on that's limited. And then Control F, you can check your fire mode or fire selector. And then 1 is how you switch fire modes in this game. Okay. In addition to that, if you hold tab, this is a very important keybind. This is how you look at your watch. And while you have the watch up, you can use the mouse wheel to scroll in and out and see or set the zoom level that you want the watch to be at. Most people will just continually dynamically change this depending on the situation or what they need to see. Personally, I like keeping this at like kind of a closer-ish kind of range, so I have situational awareness on the formation of the guys moving as we're going. This is like super useful to have up. In addition to the watch, one small thing is we have like a jog. As you can see here, this is when your mouse wheel is completely slammed up and your max move speed essentially here without sprint. The cost or the con to that obviously is that you cannot see the watch. So, you know, if you're just traveling, this is completely fine. But if you're like ready to move to contact, obviously this is how we incentivize players to slow down, is if you slow down, you get that situational awareness. So a lot of cool little small design things have gone into place to make sure people are slowing down and they're not sprinting everywhere. And it's the experience we want it to be. Okay. When it comes to the caps lock, you can also, you know, just like other games, jam it straight down to low, right? If you need to hear something, you make more noise, obviously moving fast. Your recoil and sway are obviously more when you're moving quicker. So as you can see here, we have a super awesome, cool system developed by Ting that essentially makes it so that every step that you take is calculated and timed to the bounce. Changing direction also, once again, timed to the bounce. This is for my FPS gamers out there. I know how many of you want to 80 strafe in all your FPS shooters. We do not obviously want to encourage that behavior in Bellum. So when you 80 strafe, if you 80 strafe, you're going to get a believable, authentic kind of inertia jerk on your rifle. In addition that, you know, inertia is not an arcade level of inertia. Stamina management. Yes, as you can see in the bottom left, I have my stamina bar. I'll kind of raise it right there. Once again, you can set all these settings yourself at what level you want to see your stamina bar. If you want to see it at all, how opaque or not opaque you want it to be. We give you a pretty generous stamina bar. But otherwise, stamina at this current point in time, just like with unique medical injuries on certain parts of the body, do not negatively affect your character's aim or anything like that currently. In order to mitigate this weapon bounce when moving, obviously you can move slower. So if you see, if I jam the slowest amount, that bounce really does slow down. And then obviously if you are crouched or prone, we do decrease the amount of recoil or sway. Right here, right, we have contextual mounting. So contextual mounting means that if your rifle's model is touching a valid surface, a wall, a tree, the ground, you will naturally get a bracing bonus. So this is, you know, incentivizes you to be prepared, to stick to cover, to shoot around objects and cover. Okay. Where are the buttons we're talking? Local is V. When you talk in local, there is no indicator right now. We'll have that kind of adjusted in the future, so you know when you're talking. It'll be that you see this icon right here. It's broken. It should be working, but this icon should light up green when you're transmitting. I'm gold because I'm the squad leader here. And then that white tip, once again, means that that's me, the player. If you want to see all the iconography, it is in the field manual or the beginner guide. In addition to this, B is going to be your radio, and this speaks to everyone within your squad. It also transmits to everyone in local. So if you're talking on the squad net and you're by another element, they can kind of hear what you're transmitting. Friendly element, of course, there's no cross team speak. In addition, you can see my hand comes off the radio. This is not just an aesthetic thing. It actually changes the mechanics of how the rifle interacts when firing. As you can see, my sway is slightly increased here, and my recoil is also increased during this time. So kind of encouraging you to be like kind of concise on the net, but still allowing you to shoot. Same goes for the command net, same animation and whatnot. You can hear the squelch. I turned my volume down, but you can see there's different sounds for command and for squad chat, and they play in the different ear pans. All right, did I cover all of the keybinds at this point? 3 for like if you're a grenadier or if you're an RPG guy is going to pull out the RPG or the grenade launcher. And then 6 is any special equipment. The only special equipment right now is going to be the loose belts. And we'll get into belt linking mechanics and the buddy RPG load, which is a little jank. It's going to be a little jank. We got ironed it out a little bit more, but loading other people's RPGs is a thing. Grenades. Okay, so if you can tap G to bring up your grenade, this automatically will select a frag. If you tap it again, okay, that broke. You're supposed to be able to tap G once and then tap it again to switch to the smoke. That's unfortunately not working right now. I'll get that fixed for you ASAP. or you can hold G and instant select the throwable that you want. So once again, I made this very translucent because I know where everything is because I played this game a bunch already. But if you're new, right, you can make it completely solid so you can see very easily what you're looking at or what you want. But I personally just prefer it to be quite translucent. The last keybind we have to go over is the H key, and this is the medical key. So you just like all the other UI, you can make this less opaque or more opaque if you want it to be. But we're going to go over medical at this point in time. So the medical system is honestly very simple, but can still be complex at times. It is for the normal player. You have 2 buttons that you need to worry about, and it's left click or right click. That's it. So don't get overwhelmed. The mini game that you play here in the medical screen is going to be triage oriented. And what I mean by that is identifying which of the players and casualties around you need treatment first and what to treat on that player first. And what order to treat that player. So that's where the difficulty of the medical system comes in. It's not like managing 50 different narcotics and 18 different equipments, and then you have to like keep track of all the supplies and whatnot. No, the mini game is stop the massive hemorrhaging. Okay, so real fast, we have training wheels on the server for this first weekend. What I mean by that is team damage is reflected back to the person whose team firing. So if I shoot Storm here, obviously I get shot back. There, let's see. Right, no, there we go. You get a red X here as well. Oh, you know why I didn't take damage? Is because I hit him in the plate. And so he didn't take damage because his plate caught the 5.56 round. So I shot him in the leg. I get 50% of that damage back. This is a temporary, noob-friendly kind of thing that we're putting on just to make sure that people are getting team killed over and over, because PID can be challenging. But like, I'm just going to light him up here a little bit, which is lighting me up naturally. I hit him in the back plate. All right, so let's see here. Get this arm. Okay, there we go. Let me light up one of the legs a little bit more. Okay, so every time you can see this is a little bit more fucked up than the other legs. Excuse my language. But as you can see here, there's 2 icons, technically 4 icons that you need to keep track of. The first is that this means that it is bleeding and you're losing blood from this body part. This icon means that it is wounded. The darker color this is, the worse the wound is. This is all dev UI. We need to do a pass on all this. But that's, for the normal player, that's all you need to know, is that bleeding and how bad the bleeding thing is. For most body parts, so like right now, the first thing I want to do is left click to tourniquet my leg, because that is the most... I passed out. Too late. Too slow. I'm going to have Muskul, now that he's here, injure himself so that I can kind of showcase this. So Muskul, go ahead and light yourself up. All right. So to hold H, right, for yourself, or you look at the target, see their medical menu, hold H, and it brings theirs up. As we can see, kind of same thing. So the first thing we're looking for is what's bleeding the most. Oh, dark red. Okay, tourniquet. Right, and then we're just going to tourniquet. Now, this might change depending on if he has a head wound or if he has a chest wound, because those cannot be tourniqueted, right? And so this is like where you're going to run up on casualties where you might need to call for additional hands, right? Medics might be screaming for help, right? Or you might need help to save someone. And that, once again, comms and communication to save these guys, right? So first things is tourniquets on everything. This is... stop the bleeding immediately. The best thing you can do is tourniquets on limbs. After that, you're going to want to bandage head or chest, depending on which one is worse, because they cannot be addressed with tourniquets. And then after that, you can begin bandaging. One small thing to keep in mind is dead bodies attract dead bodies. Okay? Do not just run up and begin administering medical to someone that immediately died right in front of you. Right? There's a reason that person is dead. So finish the fight. Throw smoke, get support, and then try to get them up. The worst things that new players in the genre do, one of the worst things that they do is they see someone go down and then they run out there to start administering aid, and then that person that just killed that guy just sees this guy and he kills that guy too. So this is probably one of the human things that you need to fight against, is like the desire to immediately run out and help someone. You will have to finish the fight in most cases. So he's stable for all intents and purposes. Muskul is stable in this state with all bleeds managed. You can see that the bleeding icon is gone. He still has these wounds, but he is now tourniqueted in all these limbs, so he's not bleeding. So at this point now, I can begin to bandage him. Now, you can bandage with someone else. So Storm here, I can work with him. I say, okay, I'm going to handle the left leg, you handle the right leg, right? And we can, that's where part of that communication, once again, is enforced, because it requires it. The situation is as intense as it needs to be, and the system demands teamwork in certain cases in order to save certain people. Okay, so there is no UI right now for how long a bandage can take. What I will say is the max bandage length, the worst wound, the worst it can ever be, is 30 seconds. So you might be here, if this dude is really messed up, it might be a 30-second bandage. However, if you work with another person like we just did right there, Storm and I, both players can help the same body part simultaneously. So once again, teamwork makes the dream work, even when it comes to medical. Okay, we'll show the medical in just a second here. So as you can see, Moose naturally will come up. Once you deal with the bleeding and they're stable, they will come up with time. So every player is able to get every other player up. It's not like you have to have certain equipment or whatnot. Every player is able to save every other player. This is just because it's the best for teamwork and squad cohesion, which is like at the front of this game experience. So it's always worth it to help down players. It is always worth it. However, let's go ahead and switch over to the medic. We're going to kind of showcase Muskul. Give me the medic slide. I'll just pick this medic slide. It's fine. So go ahead and light yourself up again, and we'll go over it. Once again, there's a frame drop when we spawn in. It should fix itself. So like, yeah, really bad, really bad. Keep going, keep going. All right. So as a medic, your gameplay loop is the same, right? I look at this. What do I address first? All right, tourniquet here. This is the worst thing. Get the other arm, Storm. Right, and you communicate like, get his arm or whatever you want to do, right? So we're communicating because it makes treatment more effective, right? And it's very simple. Left click, right click for most players. So we got the arm. Now we get the torso. So he can help me pack this torso as well. Packing the torso, not a real thing. I know this will be changed to chest seals in the future. That's just art and time that we have to go through. Okay, so we have stopped his bleeding. He's essentially stable. In this state, he will eventually come back up, but in minutes, right? It's going to take some time. So how can we accelerate this? As you can see here, as a medic, I have 3 additional actions. I can give him blood, I can give him a stimulant, or depressant. Stimulant, mouse wheel up. Depressant, mouse wheel down. Blood bag, middle mouse button on a limb. I cannot blood bag limbs that are tourniqueted. Or can I? Just glitched? Let's take a look. It's functioning. Shouldn't have allowed that. Okay, so we need... Oh, you can do this, but the blood will not flow until you get rid of the wound. So even though he has the tourniquet on now, or even though he has the blood bag on now, we would have to bandage the wound to auto... okay, should talk about that a little bit. Tourniquets are only removed when you properly bandage a wound all the way to completion. So once we bandage this wound all the way to completion, the tourniquet is automatically removed, right? We call that a tourniquet conversion. And the blood from that blood bag will begin flowing into the player. So you can blood bag limbs that are tourniqueted, but the blood will not flow because of obvious reasons, because the limb is tourniqueted. Otherwise, all these drugs and all these medical items are unlimited at this current point in time. In the future, we will begin restricting or limiting them, but as the player base learns the system, there's no real need for that. I can also give him a stimulant to wake him up if he's unconscious. This is kind of why we want players to talk with their casualty, because the casualty will be able to tell you if he's conscious or not. And this is why using comms is important. And then in addition to that, if I want to get him up super quick, I can hit him with a depressant. So that's mouse wheel down, and this will give him a small bump. He's already coming up already, unfortunately, or not unfortunately, fortunately. But a depressant is like a small boost in all stats, a temporary one. It'll fall off eventually with time. In addition, you can blood bag multiple body parts or multiple limbs. You cannot blood bag the head or the torso. but you can get blood going in multiple limbs. And in many cases, if the casualty is that messed up, you will want to do that. However, I know a lot of you are like, oh, what if I just blood bag all my limbs going into combat? It's unlimited, and I'm gonna give everyone 4 blood bags as we push in. The second any of these guys take damage, the blood bags are removed. So thought about that already. Just keep that in mind, that you cannot cheese the blood bags in that way. It's a waste of time to pre-blood bag people. It's not really a thing, because the second they take damage, those blood bags are automatically removed. Okay. Otherwise, like, I think it's pretty simple for a medical system. Every like line guy just has 2 buttons, tourniquet or bandage, and you use them as you would authentically. You're tourniqueting limbs, and you're using bandages on the other things, and then you can bandage. You bandage to completely remove the wound. Otherwise, medics have a couple more tools. Blood bag being the most powerful. Stimulants wake players up who are unconscious, and depressants give that player a small boost when they're down to get them back up quicker. Okay. Woo. That was medical. So now let's move on to... There's nothing really too crazy as far as automatic rifleman. Like, it is a machine gun. The only thing to keep in mind is with all of the belt-fed weapon systems, there is a nerf, because we don't like give them insane recoil or anything like that. These things can shred people, and they are very lethal, especially when deployed when prone. Right? These things are super lethal. As they should be, because that is how you get suppression, right? Because these things are so lethal and they're so accurate and they spit so many bullets, like, you know that, oh, this thing will absolutely murder me if I walk into the open. And that's how we achieve suppression. Is like, the suppression that we do in this game is not a gamified suppression where we're knocking your aim around or you've got like massive blur. It is because you know these things are out there and they're so lethal and they're actively shooting at you. However, to balance this, right, to balance this capability, machine gunners are less mobile, for the reason that when they reload, they have to do so as they would in the real world with the weapon planted. So this means that when they reload, they are quite vulnerable. They either have to move to cover or they have to have someone covering them. There's many instances where in experienced players that have been playing in playtesting, they'll listen for the reload, and then that's when they'll make their play, because they know how long this reload will take and how immobile the gunner is while doing so. So once again, we want you to think about every decision you make, every step you take, what cover you pick when you're pushing forward. That's the focus of the game. It's not this meta of like, where do I put the constructible things and where are we sending the logi and like all this other, like, how many tickets are we losing at this time? You know, do we have to race to do the back cap or anything like that? No, it is, the whole game is focused in the minute to minute decisions, second to second decisions that you're making in a firefight, to win that firefight. So that's the machine gun mechanics. Very simple, very straightforward. We'll go to the Grenadier. The Grenadier is the same thing. Once again, keep in mind that fragmentation works authentically. I know this frame thing we got to figure out. It's only on the spawn in, and once again, you should only be dying like at max 3 times per round, so you won't ever really see this. But Musko, go ahead and come over here and stand in the open. Go ahead and stand over there. So you have to load everything the first time you equip it. That's just how it is. But once it's loaded, it should remain loaded. This is mainly because we're going to let you pick between like what round you want loaded, right? Because there's smoke, or even for the RPGs, we have the different types of munitions coming in. Okay. So too far. Come back. So if you're standing, the fragmentation is quite lethal, right? And if it lands near you, see, I just hit myself back with it. But fragmentation works exactly as it should. This sucks. Fragmentation is quite lethal depending on your stance and your position, right? So because of how we've modeled all of it, this means that even if Musko goes prone, it dramatically reduces the effect a explosive or fragmentation munition will have on you. So making sure that you are paying attention to your cover and even your stance is super important. Getting low is super important when all the fragmentation, whether it's frag grenades or grenade launchers start flying, because some of these factions, like the Russians, have a ton of HE capability, and that's just like their unique edge, is that they have all that unique, like they have the GM94, which we'll showcase in a second, and the GP25, and then they also have the PG7 off the RPG. They slam fragmentation everywhere. It's just important to know how to kind of combat that, and that's going to be by picking your cover correctly and getting low when it starts happening. Otherwise, it's a Grenadier. It does Grenadier things. It's nothing crazy. We talked about the Grenadier. We talked about the automatic Rifleman. All right, let's move to machine gun mechanics. This is where things get a little in depth, but don't worry. These things are not too complicated. Okay. All right. So the 240s are currently the only belt-fed weapon system currently equipped with belts. Why are belts cool? Belts are cool because it means you can keep the gun up without reloading. Why is that good? Because we showed that reloading the machine guns is an absolute pain. If I run this thing alone, which is possible, you can run this as an individual. It does have a 50-round belt that you can just use and slam, and the gun is accurate and lethal at employed in the correct kind of situations. But if you run out of ammo and you don't have a belt, like, you have to suffer through the consequence of dealing with the machine gun reload. However, I have Musco here with a belt who's going to be linking me. And so let me go over the linking mechanics a little bit, because this is a little unintuitive. Belts can only, or it is intuitive or unintuitive, depending on how you look at it. Belts can only be linked within a certain range. And that range is 49 bullets on the belt to 5 bullets on the belt. Within that range, they can be linked to a max belt of 99 bullets. If the belt dips below 5, obviously, like, it's in the gun pretty much, and you can't really link that. So that's why there's a minimum belt linkage stop. The max belt is because we don't want people running around with like 2,000 round belts. It's just silly. 49 to 99 is like a big enough spot where you can keep the gun running. There are no heat mechanics yet in the project, so this will get nerfed to a degree when heat mechanic comes out and you have to barrel change. But if you're using this correctly... Oh, you also cannot link when the gun is being fired. That's another thing I should mention. So as we can see here, Muskel is going to be linking me. I'm just going to be stopping periodically for him to link me. But it essentially means that the 240s can be run automatically. Now, you just saw him activate a hand signal there. Ooh, what is that? It is loud. It is very loud being in the weapon squad. You have the 3 other 240s rocking off. You've got, you know, people shooting back at you and snaps and whatnot. You've got the squad leader saying things. So one of the things that we do is we have a gesture that you can fire to get the gunner to stop shooting so you can link the belt. Super cool stuff. Once again, very teamwork oriented, and teamwork is beneficial, right? Because if you utilize teamwork, then you have more capabilities. So all the tools are here for you to run this thing as it should be run in the real world. And because of the limited life system and all the other stuff, like, this thing is gnarly when it's used properly. Okay, so that's the gunner perspective. Super simple stuff. You're shooting or you're not shooting or you're reloading, and then you're just working with your AG. Moose will go ahead and switch with me and take the machine gunner, and I'll take the AG role, and we will kind of showcase what that looks like. So from the AG role, or the gun team leader role in this particular case, if Muskel goes ahead and prones it, you can link in any stance. Once again, you equip the belt with the 6 key. That's how we equip this. And then he can now fire, and we can see the link. So once again, that option disappears when he's shooting because the belt's moving. But now he's at 37 rounds, and you just hold F, and bop, 37 plus 50 is 87. And so once again, we're at max belt. We cannot link between 49 or above 49. So he can keep shooting. He can keep shooting, right? So like I'm watching it because he doesn't see the belt, but I do. So he can go one more burst, I think, on my end, right? So I'll let him go, and then I'll let him know. We got to kind of fix this animation and raise it a little bit. Once again, a little jank, but that tells him, hey, we're linking, because it's super loud. It happens. Once again, we got to fix this a little bit so it comes up a little bit more. In the prone, once again, this should work as well. Go ahead. Yep, so I'm watching it. He's going. So right here. Yeah, we got to fix this. We just got this animation in. so there is a little finicky with it. So we'll get it worked up and in a better spot. It's too low right now. It's an easy fix. But that's how to run the gun team. So pretty simple stuff until we get, you know, barrel changes in. But even then, once the barrel changes come in, it's just managing your heat, timing the gun, and getting that new barrel in as well. And once again, heavy emphasis on the teamwork and coordination. And as you can see, with the teamwork and coordination, this 240 turns into an absolute monster of a system, right? Just imagine 3 of these up on a hill with AGs. It is a substantial amount of firepower, right? These things are shooting 7.62 NATO. Pretty crazy. And that matters because that affects not only their ballistics, but also their penetration. So you can Swiss cheese quite a bit of stuff. Okay, moving on from that kit, we're going to go ahead and switch team. Storm, go ahead and stay on this team. Thank you very much. And we're going to showcase some other things here. Let's see. So I'm on the Insurgent faction now. So we talked about asymmetrical gameplay. The Insurgent faction and the Russian faction and the Ranger faction, they're all slightly different from each other. For now, they all have roughly the same structure with the squad leader and the 2 fire team leaders, with the exception of the weapon squad that we just showcased. But here, the Russians and the Insurgents share a philosophy of a assault fire team and a support fire team. We kind of made this, the easy way to remember this, right, is A is assault, B is base of fire. That's how I kind of recommend squad leaders to think of the fire teams when playing al-Zalaam or as the Rangers, or not the Rangers, the Russians, is A is assault, B is base of fire. B is also Bravo Blue, so it all works. As you can see here, the Alpha fire team for the al-Zalaam Insurgent faction has a normal rifle fire team leader, a Grenadier armed with a GP25, a standard rifleman, and a medic. I'm waiting for that frame drop if we get it on this spawn. Oh, didn't get it on this spawn. Okay, so once again on 3, just like the M320, we do have to load this thing first. We can bring this thing up and shoot it. Also, this thing does have ranging in. It is a little jank, I'm going to warn you guys, but the GP25 standalone is able to be shot in its indirect fire configuration. Obviously, we do not have the UI for the ranging that this is at, but I believe this is 200 meters indirect at the max. So, yep, you can use this thing as a mini mortar currently. I know other games have this feature. It's not anything particularly new, but just letting you know that this is a capability should the need arise. I understand it's harder to use right now because you cannot even see what ranging you're actually at. That will be fixed with animations in the future. But yeah, super cool stuff there. Otherwise, it's a Grenadier. It does Grenadier things. Moose, were you able to switch over to this faction?
Yes, I'm just waiting.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So go ahead and grab the RPG Gunner. I'll grab RPG Assistant. As you can see, Bravo, base of fire team, has more firepower as the RPD and the RPG. Okay, so just like the Grenadier, he equips the RPG-7 with the 3 key. Once again, as you can see, I can load his rocket here. I will warn everyone that this is very jank. Very, very jank right now. We tried to get it as clean as we could, but this system is a little bit scuffed. That is just the nature of things. It's scuffed in the way that if I, once again, just like with the belt, I'm hitting the 6 key. There's some weirdness here we have to figure out this over this weekend, where loading it is invisible to the AG, but visible to the gunner. Typically, if the gunner can see the round is loaded. So I know, it's unfortunate. We did our best to get it to the best state possible. But otherwise, holding F, right, we prep the round. There's also no sounds yet for this animation. And now it should be loaded. And Muskil should be able to turn around and fire it somewhere. All right, cool. And as you can see, it's super useful because with this kind of loading, we can both stay standing. We can both move around. We retain mobility. And it's pretty fast because I can prep this round for him beforehand. I also carry the 3 extra rounds for him. So he goes from 3 rounds to 6 PG-7 rounds. So once again, really emphasizing coordination with the crew-served weapons and teamwork at every level. Your incentive as an RPG gunner to work with an assistant gunner is that your loads are faster and safer, and you double your ammunition capabilities. Versus if you wanted to reload this solo, go ahead and reload it. Just like the belt-fed weapon systems, he does have to take a knee to arm or insert the round and remove the safeties of the round itself. So that is the RPG 7. Yeah, cool stuff. This thing also has penetration values, or it should. Yeah, this is some cool stuff. Yeah, there's the frag from it. This is not exactly entirely how in a final form, so just keep that in mind. The RPG 7 is very much a work in progress and will continue to be so. Okay, can you cancel the animations? We will have a formal cancellation of the animations further down the line, but the base of it is if you change weapons, you can break the animation. So go ahead and fire that one. You should have one more round. Or I'll grab RPG here and showcase. So the dirty way right now, right, is to just change your weapon if like you're getting run up on, right? So if you're reloading or something and someone's like pushing you, like just change your weapon and it will reset it. Now there is some or break it. There is some glitchiness to this where the game might think that you finished the RPG reload, and in this case it did not. So just know that that's not the intended way we want you to cancel animations, but that is how you can cancel them in the interim. Okay, yeah, there will be multiple munitions like OG and the TBG thermobaric round, and the Carl Gustav as well. That's why it's taking so much time. Is we have to do the flechette, we have to do the smoke, the HE anti-structure munition, and the fuse timings on those munitions. Okay, that handles the RPG and the 240 crew serve systems. Yeah, that's as far as infantry kits. We'll go to the Russian stuff. The only unique things that the Russian have are the PKMs and the GM94s. Otherwise, like the RPD here is fitted with a 100 round box. Once again, you can always check the status of your ammo with Control R on the box. They only get one AR per squad versus the two that Rangers have, so like there's a little asymmetry there. But yeah, we'll go over and switch to the Russians now, showcase the Russian stuff, and then from there we'll go more into in-game tips, if you will. Okay, so the cool things for the SATR, aside from the AKMs or the AK-74s, right, and these are fitted with the PK optics, right, which are the Russian version of the hollow sights ish, right? Nothing too crazy there. But the GM94, also, if you get this weird like shadow thing, this is an alpha thing we have to deal with. Just open and close your settings. It fixes that. Okay, so the GM94, just like the other GLs, does not start loaded. You have to prep this thing. It can load 3 rounds. However, once you rack this thing once, you put one in the chamber, you can load one more for 4 total. So that level of logic is there, and that, you know, will be extended to the other weapons in time, as far as like how in depth we get with the loading of the weapons. But now you have 4 GM94 HE rounds loaded in here, and this will pretty much, these things are scary. And so this is why we went over the fragmentation and why getting low is so important, is because frag is dangerous, yes, but it is exponentially less dangerous if you are a small target. So while this might be overpowered AF in other games, because our explosions and fragmentation is authentic, if you are small and tiny, you have a chance of surviving this thing even if it lands right next to you. Okay, that's the GM94. We can go over the PKM real quick. And as you can see here, the ORBAT for the, or order of battle, or the, you know, platoon structure for the Russians, it's kind of an in-between between the Rangers and the al-Zalaam, where they have this Alpha Bravo kind of split, where Alpha is primarily supposed to be the assaulting team, right? They have 2 Grenadiers in this stack, a Rifleman and a Medic. And then in the Bravo, they have the, you know, more firepower. They have the RPG and the 200 round PKM. PKM shoots 7.62 by 51R. So this is like kind of the equivalent of a 240, but there's no weapon squad, right? It's integrated directly into the Bravo fire team. A reminder, you can only get to the Bravo fire team if your Alpha fire team is filled. That's how we incentivize full squads as well, aside from there being more redundancy in your spawns should you have a Bravo team leader for the element. The SATR, just like the Rangers, only gets 3 lives, so you're only ever going to spawn in 3 times on the map, and those lives will last you the entire hour if you're playing it correctly. So it does look like I was able to fix it here, but yeah, just know that that's mainly happening because I'm respawning multiple times over in rapid succession in this area. So I can actually probably showcase this. These are all just admin commands, but you can kind of see the PKM is super effective, just like all the other belt feds when employed properly. There is very little recoil when you're using it properly. That being said, you can still use it while being mobile. However, we talked about the weapon movement mechanics earlier on, so you are obviously going to be much less accurate while moving within with a light machine gun or a belt fed weapon system. But you can still use it in a pinch, right, to get rounds down range and suppress people. And this will scare people. This is a very, very capable weapon system within Bellum. Okay, that's everything about the kits and the classes. We're gonna move on to actually playing the game. So Moose will go ahead and grab the 1-2 squad leader. We're gonna talk about the BTAC and the map mechanics currently. If I open up my BTAC with my M key button, once again, this works as you would imagine a mini map to work. I can scroll, I can look around. You do not see the enemy team spawn location. That's to add to that fog of war and to keep you on your toes as you enter. So there is no like, oh, metagame, I know they can get to this point at this time and we can rush them to this position. And if we look in this direction, we have the most optimal direction to engage them from, right? It is very much, you don't know, you know jack about the AO when you approach. The insurgents or the al-Zalaam faction get to start on the map earlier, so they will be kind of local to the area and you'll take contact much earlier upon hitting the zone. Whereas conventional versus conventional, Rangers versus Russians, you would expect to meet somewhere along the midline of the battle. But otherwise, it is freeform. You go in there, and this is why formations matter. This is how we get rid of the lone wolfing, right? Because what are you going to lone wolf, right? What are you going to lone wolf in this situation? People always talk about, oh, how do you get people to work together? Like, people are not going to work together. People are just going to play fast. Okay, you're a fast player. What do you do with this information? Run around until you hit a squad and then die. So this is partly why teamwork works so much in this game organically, is because squads will move out as full 9-man squads from the main, and they will stick together until they hit contact, right? And then maybe on contact you start to see some fast plays, but even then you don't know where everyone is on the other team. They could be on your flank, they could be here or there, and you have a limited life system that makes it so that should you go out on your own and you go too far and you can't get revived, guess what? You just screwed yourself out of a life. So it's super, the meta is to do the realistic thing. Just think that the meta is to do the realistic thing. You do the realistic thing, you're gonna have a good time. If you try to metagame it or play it arcade, you're not gonna. It's not built for that. It's built specifically to kill the lone wolf. So squads will move out, and you'll see squads kind of break off. What I will say off the rip is that even in internal testing, you've seen, or what we saw was players originally step off with the same platoon shooter mentality of like, okay, I'm gonna take my squad over here, right? And oh, I'm gonna take my squad over here, right? And I'm gonna take my squad over here, and we're gonna like look for the enemy. And this works for the insurgent faction because they have more lives that they can kind of spend, and they want to envelop or circle the other conventional forces in mass, right? However, if we play this out, right? Let's say the other team has a stack like this, and they have all 3 squads in the platoon working together. When that contact initiates, what happens? You have a 3-on-1 numbers disparity on the one squad working alone. Maybe this squad can come in to assist, and this squad is out in the wind. So what we saw over even just this last weekend is not just squads within squads working together, but you saw organic tactics because, yes, of course, when we hit the line, when we hit contact, I'm going to want mutual support. We all want to be roughly together because, yes, if we end up in this situation where the enemy 3 squads are more coordinated than we are, and you get absolutely rolled as a single squad, the natural meta thing or the best thing to do for your element is to stick together and support each other. So even by the end of the content creator weekend, that's when we started seeing stuff like this, right? And elements started to stick together, and that you got legitimate platoon on platoon engagements, rather than this stuff you see in other games where one guy shoots another guy and it's just like these individual gunfights that are happening. The whole system is built to create this behavior, and it creates that behavior because it's the natural meta best thing that you can do. And it's scary, right? If we remove all these map markers, yes, you see where your squad is, and you'll see them as triangles on the map. But as you can see, Muskul, go run away from me, Muskul. Muskul is in a different squad for me. He's the 1-2 squad leader. I'm the 1-1 squad leader. if he had more people in his squad, I don't see them. I just see his box where his squad is roughly at. So there's a lot less information that players work off of, and because they just see the unit markers, it kind of focuses the behavior of the players to work with these elements. Right, and like there's like, what are you gonna lone wolf here? Like, sure, you could go walk in the woods for 10 minutes on your own and then get capped by a full squad, and then now you're out of life. What are you gonna do next? You gonna do that again? Sure, you can do that again, but you're gonna have a really rough time lone wolfing. Versus if you just stay with your squad and you talk with your squad, you will be in a much better position. So you don't need to know all the tactics. You don't need to know all the crazy terminology, because it's super self-explanatory when you look at how the game mode is set up. You are to go into this circle and kill the enemy more than they kill you. And the natural idea is sticking together, obviously, is good. Once again, the only faction that this does not work with that well is with the insurgents, because they are less geared. They do not have body armor. They are much more squishy, but they have more lives. And with more lives, they can play very fast and aggressive, testing the flanks more. They can throw away a couple lives on super risky broad flanks and maneuvers. But the Rangers and the Russians, you're locked to 3 lives. You're going to want to be picked up by a medic if you want to continue playing. Okay. So we talked about the game mode and kind of the macro movement of it all, and how squads work within and essentially form a platoon. Communicate with each other. That is, like, I cannot say this enough. The game is built for you to use your microphone. If you do not use your microphone, it is not going to be as good as it could be for you or the people around you. We really want to incentivize the communication and teamwork. And once again, the tactics aren't that confusing. It's move here, shoot here, stop shooting. Move here, shoot here, stop moving. That's honestly 99 of the controls or the tactics or the orders and all of this stuff can be broken down into that. You don't need to use the crazy terminology like support by fire or you know, hitting them in enfilade or anything like that. It's like, hey, blue, move over here and then shoot them. And you can get far with that. Or hey, blue, stop shooting them. We're going to pull back. Move here. That's it. That's it. And it's just go here, shoot here. It's very simple at the base level. But as you learn more, you then learn more tools that you can utilize to more effectively get a certain task done. But all the tools are just experience in the combat zone. It's not knowing a specific combination of keys that you can exploit to, you know, get a little bit more of an edge. It's analyzing the situation and making decisions using the tactical situation at hand. So we talked about breaking contact a little bit already, but as a reminder, like, the reason why breaking contact is so important is because, like, if you're here in the center of the map, right, and let's go to a 1 squad thing, and let's have the 2nd squad over here, and let's have like an insurgent line out here, 2 squad engagement here, right? So let's just say this happens, right? Naturally, this team or squad is going to most likely, unless there's some magic miracle, which does happen, right? Sometimes, oh my god, these guys were not spaced out properly, right? Their formation was not they didn't take positioning into account, right? And don't overthink it. Don't think, oh, squad, fire team, wedge, how do I do this? Oh, line, oh, wedge, echelon right, what does all this mean? Once again, you don't need to overthink it. Those are advanced tactics that you will eventually learn why they are useful and why to utilize them. But spacing, right? Everyone knows spacing. Don't stand with all 9 guys in frag range of each other. If you space out a little bit, you're going to be effective. You don't need to be perfectly in a wedge or perfectly spaced out from the other platoons in a platoon line and make perfect coordination. You just need to do the bare minimum. And as you learn, you'll learn how to min-max your tactics. But the tactics is the game at play here. Okay, so going back to this specific situation, naturally in this situation, we would expect these 2 squads to overrun or mass cal, or severely attrite or damage or wound, whatever you want to call it, right? Any word you want to use, really fuck up, for lack of a better term, this squad. By having another squad next to you, what that means, and this kind of shockwaves throughout the entire game, is that you want another element near you so that they can help you in some way, shape, or form, right? If this squad hits contact and starts getting messed up, having an element nearby, they can push up and support, and maybe you can swing the tide and get offensive, right? Or maybe you need cover to pull back, right? Because you're close to getting wiped, because squad wipes suck in this game, right? By design. Then they can come up and cover you as you pull back, right? And that only happens if you communicate. But there's not like complicated mechanics or features or anything like that. Like, hey, the simplest words you could use are, hey, we're getting absolutely messed up. We're pulling back. Done. Just cover us. That's it. That's it. Not that complicated. The idea is not too complicated. You move back, they move forward. Once again, move and shoot. Those are the orders. The more experienced squad leaders will have the knowledge of how to stretch their mileage. But it's just move and shoot, move and shoot. Or in the case that you are too late, right, and you are getting pretty wiped, this squad can come in to attempt to beat these guys and bring you back up, right? Okay. So we talked about the shockwaving effect. So what I mean by that is, just like how as an individual within your squad, you want to be nearby other elements so they can revive you or cover you or support you. The same extends to fire teams. Fire teams want to be close enough to mutually support if they can, so they can cover them, revive them, help them. Same goes all the way up to the squads. Squads want to be near other squads because they can help them, they can push forward, they can help them pull back. Okay. That's like the majority of the game. The most difficult thing and the most intense thing that's going to happen when you play the experience is when that contact hits and you have to start making decisions. That's the hardest part. Otherwise, it's just a shooter. It's a shooter with different rules and different mechanics, and you have different capabilities like the crew serve weapon system. But when you get out there and you start shooting people, it's just shooting people. It's shooting people, and it's making holes and plugging holes. That's all it is. And just working with the people around you to do it better than the other team. So the game mode is very simple by design. Okay, I'm trying to think if I'm missing anything. There is a chat system on the BTAC you can utilize. So you can like type, and then you can see recent messages down here if you so choose. There's no real reason to use the chat system right now, but it's there if you need it. And then we can get a little bit deeper into the tactics of it for like some advanced tips at the end of this here. Let's see here if I've gone through everything that I wanted to go through currently. Yeah, you don't need to overthink it, guys. Like, make holes and plug holes and don't die. Kill the enemy, and you'll just see what the most effective way to do that is, as you do in all games, figuring out the best strategy. The best strategy is teamwork and tactics. So we talked about how to play attrition. We talked about the area of operation. We talked about the different factions. All right, general tips. We talked about working together. Pay attention. Okay, so this is a big one, right? We're going to just slow-mo us in here. So the map is big. You don't know where the enemies spawn. There's a little bit of a boring part to this experience currently until we get transport vehicles in, obviously, which is just the initial walk in to the AO, or if you get squad wiped walking back into the AO, because, you know, this area right here is kind of safe, right? Because it is on your side and outside of the circle, so the enemies shouldn't be here. That's kind of how we also prevent main camping. It's a pain to main camp, and there's no real good reason to, because you don't really see too much stuff coming out of main unless a squad gets wiped. There's no reason to really be near main. But once you get like decently into the circle, like your brain needs to turn on. Your brain needs to turn on roughly, you know, as you reach this part of the circle, if not a little earlier if you're playing against the insurgents. And so in the simplest terms, it just means be aware. Don't scroll TikTok, because the team that is more aware and more together is going to have the advantage, right? If I'm like la-di-da, I'm on my phone scrolling TikTok and I'm on point and not paying attention, the other teams are working in squads. They just naturally are. This is a squad-based experience, and we have gotten it to the point where everyone is working as a squad for the most part. When you hit contact, it is not going to be a single dude in the middle of nowhere. It is going to be 4 to 9 guys who are in position, probably, and depending on how aware and turned on they are, that initial contact is going to be brutal. And you can see this in all the footage out there, you know, that we've released, is that first contact is never just, oh, one tap that guy, okay, we can move on. that first contact is always the most violent moment that I think many players have ever experienced, because you're most of the time is going to be walking into an ambush or initiating an ambush, unless both teams somehow miraculously spot each other simultaneously. And so the basic thing as a player to do is just be aware, look, use your eyes, maintain awareness, right? Just understand where your element is. You should already know where everyone is because, well, like I said, everything's quite organized. The players will play quite organized. And if you have good leadership, they're feeding you information of like, okay, 1-3's on our left. Don't worry about the left. 1-2's on our right. Don't worry about the right. And so all we're doing is like paying attention to what we need to pay attention to. But if we're walking here and I'm on my phone scrolling TikTok and the enemy line is right there, guess what? The entire squad's going to walk into to God knows what. And this gets more and more scary the further you penetrate into the zone, right? Because if you end up being at the center, guess what? You can now expect contact from 360 degrees by a squad-sized force. As you get more experienced, you will get better at keeping track of roughly how many enemies anywhere, so that you can kind of plan better and make better decisions. But as a newer player, don't worry about that too much. But as an experienced player, you might go, okay, feed me the contact reports, right? And the contact reports are important and they're relevant, because if the contact reports are coming in clear, where it's like, hey, I've got 2 enemy squads to my front from squad 1, and he's feeding me that information, I know, okay, there's 1 other squad out there on the map that I need to worry about. Or if, hey, I got the entire platoon to my front, guess what? Flanks should be clear. We're working the front. So there's all this tiny detail and depth to the experience that you will eventually learn how to utilize terrain, tactics, teamwork, and communication to its maximum effect. But at the base experience for the new player, stay awake, okay? Talk. Stay awake, talk, listen. That's it. That's all you gotta do. There's no special mechanics you need to memorize. There's no formations you need to memorize. There's no crazy language or lingo you really need to know, though it helps because it makes things more efficient. The whole reason why the tactics and the lingo and the terminology is the way it is simply to get points across with more detail faster. That's the whole reason behind much of the communication, and why the language is the way it is just to get communication across faster and more accurately. Aside from that, you're just shooting people and you're just healing people in this particular game mode. So that's attrition. We have exploitation and occupation will then expand and make the experience more complex. But that's an explanation behind the gameplay systems, how the game functions currently in its current alpha state. Once again, it is imperfect, it is incomplete, but yeah, stay awake out there, talk to people, listen to people. That's all you gotta do. That's all you gotta do. You'll learn the rest with time. I guarantee you. You'll get, if you're new, you might have a hard experience and you might be absolutely decimated a couple times, right, walking in, but the entire experience is made so that you are guaranteed to hit contact. You are guaranteed to have an experience when you walk into the AO. You're not playing defense, hoping and waiting for a squad to run into you. Because the objective is to hunt and kill the other people, you're guaranteed action in a round. You are, because that's what you're doing and that's what they're doing. You are guaranteed to hit contact. It will hit you or you will hit it. It's just depending on who's more aware and who's making decisions better that determines the victor. Not who's gaming a mechanic more or who can cap flags faster or whatever. It's who can kill the other person better in a squad format. That's it.